Can you talk to us a little bit about that? What the poem was about, how you used it, and why you chose to use it for University of Michigan?
Yeah. Oh man. So that poem and oh man, it came actually from one of my favorite classes at Michigan, Identity and Agency in STEM. It was one of an elective class I actually took outside of my higher ed program, and I the first day of class, our teacher, amazing Black woman with a lot of Black feminist teachings that she brought to that classroom. Um, that was like going to church for me every time I was in there. And the first day she had us write the I am poem. And funnily enough, I used that a lot for my interviews because I just felt so challenged to bring that authentic piece of myself with me. But in terms of what was in the poem, I honored where I came from. I honored my parents' sacrifices. But there's this idea also that I explored in that too. And it was, coming from our communities, we get this idea of higher education painted to us as if the grass is greener on the other side. Um, but I end that poem asking everyone, you know, what does it mean for us to give more love to where the grass is brown? And how do we do that in our practice moving forward? And I've been thinking about that a lot because it does inform my practice today. Um, there's this concept that I try to remind students like, look, as you're applying to college, essentially you've been asked for these past 16, 17 years of your life to present yourself as college ready, be academically prepared, join all these curriculars, make it through your struggles and then share that with your admissions officer. Don't you feel like you have the agency to then demand your university to be student ready, and then to give love to you and the communities you represent? So that message at the end of the poem is really reminded myself of why this work's important to me, but then what needs to change if, we really are trying to make a difference in this kind of work. Because I don't want to just push more Black and brown bodies into higher ed just to experience harm in attaining the degree. Like, let's attain the degree and still celebrate everything that you are and will become.
Yeah, I think that's just so beautifully put because I think it's largely irresponsible how we talk about recruitment and retention of like Black and brown BIPOC folks in general in higher education, because it's like, oh yeah, like our numbers went up 3% since last year. I'm like, yeah, but you still have students who are having a terrible experience. Because what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, like it's one thing to have like the percentage of students up to where you want it to be at, but if those experiences of the students are negative or harmful, that's not inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I absolutely love what you said about giving love to where the grass is brown. That might end up being the title of this episode. I don't know yet, but that was beautiful. I've actually never heard anyone put it that way, and I think that's spectacular. Um, and listeners, I highly encourage y'all to give thought to writing your own I am poem. I've written a few versions of I am poems over the course of being a poet in my life, and I think it's just so impactful when you are able to really sit and go through what all your identities are. And there was actually an exercise. I forget what space I was in, but it was an identity workshop. I'm pretty sure it was actually when it was either when I was training to be a summer academy mentor or when I was leading a training, but I believe one of the staff from the LGBTQIA plus resource center came to give a talk on identity. And we were talking through like, there was an activity where they encouraged us to say I am and then
Mm,
blank. And then you just keep saying I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, and just seeing how many different I am statements you can make. And though I think that when people practice doing stuff like I am poems, you start to uncover layers of yourself that either you might not have given a lot of amplification to, or might not have recognized in a long time, but there's just so many different words you can fill in with that I am statement. And I think people, of course, usually default to some of the more visible characteristics that they portray, like I am a man, I am Black. But when you really start to go deep into what are your values, it's like, yeah, I'm a poet, I'm a family person, I'm family oriented, I'm a community person, I'm a higher education advocate. There's just so many different things that you can say to those I am lines. So I'm happy that that activity was so impactful for you and that you've been able to utilize it at many different stages of your career and for your personal self. Like, I think that every time I've heard you introduce yourself when we're on a Zoom call or we're at an admissions event, it's such a intentional introduction, giving people kind of, I look at it as like extending a hand or all the friendship people, like, hey, this is who I am. If you see yourself in me, like, this is a space that you can approach, and we can chat about what that's like. Or if you want to learn more, like, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
that's really important to keep who you are at the center of everything that you do.
Right.